Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a source that is, well, it's a little unusual for us. It's an excerpt from a gardening blog.
Right, kianmm.org. And it's written by a guy who calls himself an old software plumber, which is just fantastic.
It is, and he's focused on one specific plant he kept seeing on the roadside, the sweet prayer plant, or Thaumatococcus daniellii.
And what starts as this, simple observation about gardening quickly spirals into botany, chemistry.
And a chemical secret that is, it's genuinely mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to explore the three sort of distinct lives of this one plant. Its use as a natural tool, its incredible chemistry, and its really charming behavior.
You're about to get a shortcut to being very, very well informed about a plant you probably never even heard of.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the simple observation that kicked this whole thing off.
What I love here is that the author's first thought wasn't about the flowers or, how pretty it was. It was about the ground under the plant.
He was noticing what wasn't there.
Exactly. A classic case of sharp observation.
So our blogger, he notices the ground beneath these big leaves was, and this is his quote, remarkably clear of weeds. And that led him to a really practical question. Could this plant be used as a kind of natural, self-sustaining weed control?
It's a fantastic idea. He's basically proposing it as a biological mulch.
A biological mulch, I like that. Using the plant's own traits to outcompete everything else.
Right. No chemicals, no pulling weeds by hand. The source lays out two main reasons this might be happening.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the first mechanism he suggests?
The first one is the most direct. It's light deprivation, basically brute force shading.
From those huge leaves he mentioned.
Exactly. The leaves on Thaumatococcus daniellii are really big, very broad.
Yeah.
And when they grow together, they form this super dense overlapping canopy.
And that just blocks the sun.
It blocks almost all of it. So you know how a lot of dormant weed seeds, they need a little flash of light to get the signal to germinate?
It's their trigger.
Well, they don't get it. There's no light, so there's no trigger. The seeds just stay dormant. It's a very physical defense.
It's a blanket, a living blanket.
A living blanket is a perfect way to put it.
But wait, if it's just about shade, couldn't that cause other problems? You get this perpetually dark, damp ground. Isn't that perfect for slugs or mold?
That's a great point, and that leads right into the second mechanism he proposes, which is a bit more subtle. It's less about force and more about, say, environmental engineering.
Okay.
The second idea is that the sweet prayer plant just happens to love partial shade. It thrives in conditions that most aggressive weeds actually hate.
Ah, so it's not just blocking the sun, it's choosing a battlefield where its main competitors can't even fight.
Precisely. Most of those really stubborn weeds, the ones that take over your garden, they're pioneer species. They need full, blazing sun to get going.
And this plant creates its own cool, dim microclimate.
It stacks the deck in its own favor before the race even starts.
So for anyone listening who's into, say, forest gardening or just has a shady spot on their property they want to manage, this is a huge deal.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this suggests an elegant, natural solution for weed suppression. It's a two-level attack.
Physical blocking and environmental preference.
Exactly. It just shows how much you can learn by just observing where a plant chooses to live, like those roadside clearings the author saw.
It's a beautiful piece of functional design in nature, but we have to pivot because the author's curiosity, it didn't stop there.
No, it didn't.
The plant has these other characteristics, these chemical traits, that take us from gardening right into, well, advanced food science.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
The secret isn't in the leaf or the root. It's all concentrated in the aril of the seed. That's the fleshy stuff covering the seed itself.
Yes, that gelatinous husk.
Yeah.
And inside that husk is where we find thaumatin.
Thaumatin, the miracle sweetener that gives the plant its name.
It's so potent that it's been approved all over the world as a food additive. You'll see it on labels as E957.
E957. And you hear that number and you immediately think artificial chemical.
Right.
But the key here is that thaumatin isn't made in a lab. It's a protein that's harvested directly from this plant. That's a huge distinction.
It is the defining feature. We are talking about a completely natural protein that just happens to trigger the sweet receptors on our tongue with shocking efficiency.
Okay, so just how efficient are we talking about here?
The source gives us a really stark comparison. Thaumatin, the protein, is thousands of times sweeter than table sugar.
Thousands, not like 100 times sweeter.
No, thousands of times sweeter than sucrose.
Yeah.
So the amount you need to get the same effect it's just infinitesimal.
And the fact that it's a protein instead of a carbohydrate, like sugar,
Hmm.
that has to be important
Oh, it changes everything, especially for how your body processes it.
because it's not a sugar.
Exactly. Your body metabolizes it as a protein.
Yeah.
And because you need such a tiny, tiny amount, it contributes virtually 0 calories. It doesn't spike your blood glucose.
So you get this incredible sweetness without the caloric load or the glycemic hit of sugar.
That's the miracle part.
Yeah.
But that extreme power also comes with a, let's call it a quirk. The source mentions its lingering sweetness.
Lingering sweetness. So you taste it and the sensation just hangs around for a while.
For a long while, yeah.
Yeah.
When you eat sugar, the sweetness hits fast and it fades fast. Clean. With Thaumatin, it can have a slow onset, and then it just stays on your palate.
I've heard it can even have a bit of a licorice-like aftertaste.
It can, depending on the concentration. And that makes it tricky to use as a simple one-to-one replacement for sugar in, say, your coffee. You don't want your coffee to still taste sweet 10 minutes later.
Right, so while it's thousands of times sweeter, it's not actually used to just sweeten things up.
Not usually as the primary sweetener, no. That's a great deep dive insight. Its main commercial use, as E957, is often as a flavor modifier.
A flavor modifier.
Yeah. It's used to enhance other flavors, or more often to mask bitterness. So it's often blended with other low-calorie sweeteners like stevia to cover up their aftertaste. Or it's used in pharmaceuticals to make bitter medicine more palatable.
So it's less of a sledgehammer of sweetness and more of a precision tool for food chemists.
That's a perfect way to describe it. A precision tool that nature just happened to create in the seed husk of a roadside plant.
And another key detail you mentioned is that it's stable under heat, right?
Critically so. A lot of sweeteners break down when you cook or bake them. Thaumatin holds up really well, which is a massive advantage in food manufacturing. It's why it earned that regulated E957 status.
That's just incredible. So we have its utility as a mulch, its identity as the source of Thaumatin, E957. But the gardener who wrote this, he adds one final detail, a detail that gives the plant a kind of personality, a layer of charm.
It's the kind of thing that makes you just stop and appreciate the plant for what it is, not just what it does for us.
He talks about its movement.
He does. He points out its unique rhythmic movement, which has a scientific name. Nyctinastic. Nyctinastic. Okay, that's a great term. What exactly is the movement he observed?
It's quite poetic, really. The plant folds its leaves up vertically at night. And then in the morning, it unfurls them back down to horizontal to greet the sun.
It's like it's going to sleep and waking up.
It really is. The movement is tied to the light-dark cycle. The name comes from the Greek for night and press close.
So is this just a charming little dance? Or is there a real biological function behind it? Why would a plant use energy to do that every single day?
Well, in a deep dive, we have to look past the charm, right? And yes, it's a very functional adaptation. It's driven by the plant's internal clock, its circadian rhythms.
Okay.
It's all about changes in water pressure and special cells at the base of the leaf. And the advantages are probably multifaceted.
Like what?
For one, folding the leaves up at night in a tropical environment can help conserve moisture. It reduces the surface area exposed to the cool night air.
Okay, that makes sense. It could also help regulate temperature, maybe protect it from heavy rain. And some scientists think that for some species, folding up can even make the plant less obvious to animals that might eat it at night.
So this gentle slow motion movement is actually a sophisticated 24-hour survival strategy.
Exactly. The plant is actively managing its own resources. What's fascinating here is how many distinct attributes, utility, chemistry, and this complex behavior are all packed into this single species.
Thaumatococcus daniellii.
It really transforms it from just some anonymous roadside plant into this incredibly complex organism.
That's a perfect way to sum it up. We've seen it as a potential biological mulch, the source of the protein sweetener Thaumatin, E957, and this plant with a sophisticated rhythmic nyctinastic movement. So what does this all mean for you, the person listening? I think it means that the everyday observations of, just a curious person can unlock some really revolutionary knowledge.
Absolutely.
A plant this guy just drove past has this entire secret life as a source of sweetness and sustainable gardening.
This whole source, for me, is just a profound argument for paying closer attention. I mean, you have a curious person who notices something's missing the weeds, and that leads him down this path to a mind-boggling chemical secret.
The potent protein, Thaumatin.
Right. It implies that so many of nature's secrets are they're hidden in plain sight.
And that leaves us with a final thought.
It does. It raises an important question for all of us. Given that this one plant offers these potential breakthroughs in both land management and, global food science,
Yeah.
how many other seemingly ordinary plants or trees or organisms do we encounter every single day that are just as multifaceted, that are potentially just as revolutionary?
And they're just waiting.
They're just waiting for one of us to get curious enough to observe them closely and connect the dots. The real lesson here isn't about E957. It's about the incredible value of just being curious.
A great thought to chew on. Thanks for diving deep into the sweet prayer plant and the miracle protein, E957.
My pleasure.
We hope this encourages you to look a little closer at the botany around you. Maybe tonight you'll catch a plant performing its own nightly ritual.